Have you ever come across a service for something like, say, spiritual guidance and wondered how they actually sell it? Well, today, we're going to do just that. We're going to deconstruct a web page for a spiritual healer and astrologer based in London to see exactly how they build their message and connect with people who are looking for answers.
So, right off the bat, the service we're looking at isn't just about one thing, it's about two: astrology and spiritual healing. This brings us to our big question for today. How on earth does a web page take two pretty distinct fields and merge them into one single powerful solution? Let's dive in and see how they do it.
Okay, so first things first. Who is making these claims? The source puts one person front and center. They identify a single practitioner, a pundit, which is a term for a learned expert, who is presented as the one person providing all this guidance.
So how do they define this role of a spiritual healer? Well, they keep it really simple and direct. It's someone who offers guidance and support. But here's the really important part. Notice who it's for. It's not for people with one specific problem. It's for anyone facing life's difficulties. That's a definition that makes the service feel instantly accessible to, well, just about anyone. You know that phrase, life's difficulties, is actually the perfect jumping-off point for us. Because if this service is the solution, then what's the problem it's trying to solve? And the webpage is very, very deliberate about how it sets this up. The strategy here is pretty smart. They don't try to list out every single specific issue a person could have. Instead, the whole message is built around a single, universal human experience that pretty much all of us can relate to on some level. And there it is, the exact phrase they use, facing life's difficulties. It is so broad, and that's on purpose. This kind of language casts the widest net possible. It speaks to anyone who's just feeling a bit lost or overwhelmed, without needing to name their exact problem. It's a classic way to connect with the biggest possible audience. Now here's where it gets really clever. While the problem is described vaguely as difficulties, the webpage starts to define it by talking about the solutions. Just think about it for a second. If they promise to remove negative energy, the implied problem is that you're full of it. If they promise to bring back emotional balance, they're suggesting you've lost it. It's a really subtle but super effective way of diagnosing the visitor's problem for them.
All right, so we have the expert and we have the problem they're aiming to solve. So the big question is, what do they actually do? What's the method? Let's break down the solution that the web page puts forward. So the method is presented as this kind of hybrid. On one hand, you've got astrology. On the other, spiritual healing. And what's really crucial here is that these are not two separate items on a menu you can choose from. No, the web page frames them as two essential parts of a single integrated process that immediately makes the service feel unique. And this is the exact phrase that pulls it all together. A powerful combination. That one word, powerful, does so much work here. It's the linchpin. It suggests that these two practices aren't just good on their own, but that they are way more effective together. It creates this unique value proposition that you supposedly can't get anywhere else. Okay, so you get the problem, you get the method, but what's the end result? What's the payoff for the client? Well, the final piece of this whole narrative is the promised outcome, which is laid out as a very clear step-by-step transformation. And just look at how this is structured. It's brilliant, really. It's not just a random list of benefits. It's a journey. It's a story. Step 1, we get rid of the bad stuff, the negative energy. Step 2, once that's gone, we can restore your emotional balance. And only then, the source suggests, can you finally move forward with clarity, and then with confidence. It's a really compelling little 4-act play of personal renewal.
So the page has told a pretty convincing story, right? It's taken you from a relatable problem to a unique solution and a desirable outcome. So if you're sold on the idea, what do you do next? Let's look at the very last piece of the puzzle, the call to action.
And it's pretty straightforward, really. The webpage wraps everything up by giving you clear ways to get in touch: a website, an email, and a phone number. It's that final practical step that directs anyone who connected with a story to actually do something about it. When you step back, you can really see the architecture here. A universal problem leads to a unique method, which promises a profound transformation. And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. The service promises things like clarity and confidence. But how do we, as individuals, even begin to define, let alone measure, something as deeply personal as that? It's definitely something to chew on.